empowering the fan's voice. Brought to you by Healthspan Elite, the official sports nutrition partner for the All Blacks.
This is what you wanted to know. We took a large squad over to Australia. Were you happy with how new players were injected, brought into the squad in 2020? Yes, 80% of you said. No, 20%. So that opportunity to get players, 80% people, JK, are happy with our rotation of young players into the All Blacks. But did that, in the end, compromise our record and our performance?
Well, I put it into my force multiplier, and I'd probably go 60-40, to be fair. There's a couple of things that I would have liked to have seen. Hoskins at number 8, starting. And I think, look, I don't think there's any fault that they didn't try it because of the loss. 2 losses in a row. But I would like to see Akira and those guys together a couple of more times. Maybe Sam rested, and do you put Ardie at 7 and Hoskins at 8 and Akira? So I would have liked to have seen a couple of things like that, but I don't think we had the luxury of winning, Mills, to try that.
Hold on, 30-odd tests, no, Mills. There's 30-odd tests the next Rugby World Cup. What needs to be the attitude from now, if you start thinking about a couple of seasons before we go into campaign in France to try and win a Rugby World Cup in the middle of winter?
Well, I think what you guys have illustrated in terms of where South Africa got to leading into that sort of Rugby World Cup, I think you've got to actually, they've probably actually started to implement that already, the All Blacks. You've got to build a good squad. You've got to build a healthy squad with plenty of experience. And I guess that those 2 results that you're talking about, JK, where we lost, we didn't have that luxury of actually, getting guys, out in the field. I would have loved to see, another factor like Cullen Grace spin on there, because he brings something totally different. I know there's a lot of heat on the loose forward.
Akira has only played 1 test.
Well, exactly.
So how do you get him a game?
Yeah, but I think that's really healthy. I would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, obviously with the 2 losses, we couldn't get him out there, or even get him off the bench. So I think we're sitting pretty healthy. But the biggest thing for me leading into those 30 test matches that you're talking about, possibly 30 tests, is we've got to build an experienced squad.
Tabs, for you think about where the All Blacks are right now. What attitude and mindset do you think the All Black coaches will come out of this campaign with?
Yeah, well, I think when they reflect on this campaign, it's like a mini World Cup. They had to travel, they were with the team for 6 weeks, they had tough games all the way through, which is probably a little bit harder than World Cup, but the combinations will be critical, and I think that's, for me, and that's the dilemma the All Blacks face. We're trying to build. And I think the difference between winning 80% of your test matches over the next 30 is one dilemma, but winning the World Cup final has often been on the back of experience.
Well, I want to show you 2 teams. A team that played on the weekend and a team that played in the 2015 Rugby World Cup. So there you're talking about experience. And you look at Jerome Kano, 66 test matches. Richie McCaw, 147. Daniel Carter, 111. Ma'anonu, Conrad Smith, 102 and 93. Then you look on the other side, and where we are right now, Nepo Lalala, just 28 compared to an Owen Franks. Scott Barrett looking to build on his experience. Akira's just played 1. Ardie Savea at 48. I mean, what does this suggest to you, Mills, when you look at those 2 groups and go, you know what, we need to get these guys some consistent games, or do you think there's more rotation needed?
Well, I think you do. I think you look at that sort of squad in 2015, you've got to remember also, a lot of those guys came through 2007 and some of them even 2003. So you're building on that experience, but also what you're doing is consistency. You're building a nice squad that knows the environment, they know the game plan, and you've got to actually build that. I mean, you look at the 96s, we're almost, there is a couple. I mean, you look at Kira Ioane, and you just spoke about one test. If we can build that loose forward trio to have 2 or 3 guys in behind that have almost 50 or even past 50 that are coming off the bench, that's a luxury.
It's going to be a challenge, though, to get them from in behind, though, JK. I mean, there's not that many test matches, and the fact that you talk about 2 campaigns, and of course 2011 we won a Rugby World Cup at home, so we were probably in a similar situation there, but snuck in. Can you see, and do you like what you see there, and can we develop it in time?
This is another little thing that's probably got nothing to do with, the team on the field, but didn't Ian Foster just sign for 2 years? So there's going to be pressure on him to make sure he brings home success. So it's going to be hard for him to risk next year, because you've got to get results. He would have felt way more pressure than Steve felt in his early reign. He's been through adversity this year. So, is he going to be able to have the courage to take some of those risks when he needs to win to get, recontracted, or do you need to go earlier and give that whole coaching team, if they're the answer, the confidence to try and play some of the young guys? I mean, you look at Caleb Clark, he needs another You know, if you're saying 30 tests, he needs to play every one, and then you probably need to give Sam a bit of a rest. But
we're forgetting about
freshen him
George
up.
Bridge. We're talking about a guy who was outstanding last season for the All Blacks. Sevu Reece, who's had limited opportunities there. Damien McKenzie. There are a lot of guys, Tab, sitting in the wings where their Super Rugby Aotearoa form and what they can do there has to be taken into account. I mean, are you confident in how difficult it is going to be for the selection team?
Well, I think form always means that a couple of people get into that group and end up playing in the World Cup. And I know we seem like we're obsessed with the World Cup, but that's what we're always moving towards. For me, it's the combination. So that you see that loose forward trio in 2015, it nearly had 300 test caps between it. So that it's actually the combinations of the midfielders, the loose forward trio, 10, 12, 13. What's that going to look like in 2023?